Hello there, friends. Welcome to another interview episode of the Art and Business of Meditation podcast. This one is going to be, I think you can close your eyes and lay down to this one, and you might float up to the sky because I just have a sense that this is going to be a really powerful, potent opportunity to chant with Prashanti Paz, who is a recording artist, meditation guide, writer, certified astrologer who is known for her soulful voice and profound teachings. With 24 plus years of devoted training and practice in Buddhism and Eastern philosophy, she shares mantra, meditation, and astrology with a genuine and practical approach. Prashanti, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I feel, such joy to be here and gratitude. Thank you for
Mm.
having me.
Yeah, so your journey is fascinating to me, so I'm assuming it'll be fascinating to other people, and I'll just color in what I understand and let you kind of speak whatever is relevant to you. But so you go to film school and you encounter Buddhism while working on the film 7 years in Tibet, which is really
Yeah.
cool. And then a few years later, you end up studying with the Dalai Lama. And so, coloring in maybe anything that you feel is relevant to that journey, and then obviously eventually really stepping full into your heart's work and sharing the work that you're doing now. So,
Mhm.
yeah, anything relevant that you feel you want to share on it,
Okay. Yeah.
and it's all relevant, of course.
Or not. It's all relative.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for the introduction. I didn't study like directly with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Just want to clarify that is that he went like in two opportunities to Argentina, where I'm from. So maybe I just say to introduce myself, I'm from Argentina. I was born in south of Argentina in Patagonia, and I now am based in the Netherlands in The Hague. And while I was in Argentina, when I started my Buddhist, path journey after 7 years in Tibet, I met twice with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I was very involved with the Dharma Center in Argentina. So I had the privilege to be in the small group serving him, and just being really close in contact. But it's not like, of course, I received a group teachings
Sure,
now,
sure,
but
sure, sure.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
just want to
totally.
clarify. So
Yeah.
yeah, it started like exactly like you said. Um, I think the beginning of my journey, what really marks what, since I was very little, I always was asking these questions, not very natural for a 7, 8 year old, like, why am I here? Why are we here? I always had this tendency to drive myself nuts, I guess, and complicate my own life. And really, it was just this, yeah, like, what is the meaning, And I had this amazing grandma, and my mother's family is Christian, and she taught me how to pray. And so, yeah, maybe I'm going back to even more like
It's beautiful.
I'm a little bit random when I speak, sorry.
That's perfect.
Um, so yeah, I'm just flowing in that direction because she was a singer actually, but she only sang in church. And I went to church with her because I was the only one. My mom was like atheist, and also my father, and they didn't want us to go into any spiritual path until we are adults, like, and we can decide for ourselves. But I always felt this pull, towards like prayer and God and, these things. But I feel like this kind of like it was in my childhood, but what was the main thing why I started searching was when my mom passed. And I was studying in New York, and I already went to university, and I already was had this experience working on 7 years in Tibet. And I always say that I went because of Brad Pitt, but I But what really caught and just took my heart was Buddhism and um, all of these monks and Rinpoches and um, Jetsun Pema, His Holiness, sister was there playing the mother, and it was just living in this environment. And I remember when I first saw a monk, a bunch of them, they were doing extras, like part of the cast. It was so funny. And they came on a bus and they were all laughing. And I'm like, why are they so happy? You know, are they high? What's going on? What, I want to smile like that and just felt that joy. So the seed was planted there. Then I went to New York to take some intensive, training in screenwriting. That's what I do also. I'm a screenwriter, and boom, my mom passes unexpectedly. And so when I returned to Argentina, it was a big shock for me, and it was something. It was like really this darshan of death, like the first teaching of wow. Um, why and all of these questions, and I didn't felt at the time that Christianity or so I recall Buddhism, and I already had a book, and so that's how it started. And I started going to a Buddhist center, and first meditation, and then the practices of Tibetan Buddhism is Vajrayana, so it's tantric practices, always involving mantra. So that's when I started actually, not chanting, but reciting mantras because they don't sing the mantras like I do now. So, yeah, that's
It's really
how it all
beautiful.
started.
I love your that story with your grandma, right? And even just like receiving that from her, and how that, even maybe something that you couldn't understand at the time, or I'm imagining like how that, I'm assuming, maybe I'm projecting my own experience with one of my grandparents, but you know, do you, when you think of your grandma now, like what's that felt sense of like that connection?
It's amazing. I just feel the goosebumps again. She's like on my shrine, and I just feel she was my first guru, and just the power that she had. She suffered a lot in her life. She lost two children, the husband. It was just so much suffering. And still, there was this composure and this strength coming from her practice. And I would see her every single day, always the same time, 6 p.m., no matter what happens. She used to sit in a very dignified posture and in her bed when she was visiting us, and she will pray the rosary. And she was like, and there was just this feeling of peace around her.
Mm.
And it was very powerful. So, yeah, I think also the singing. Uh, Once I asked, you have such a beautiful voice. And she said, yeah, but I only sing to God. Like that's reserved. It was back in those days where if you were grieving, you don't sing. Like so, she reserved the singing, the beauty of her soprano voice to God as an offering, and that I think that was like
Wow. Knowing what
yeah,
you do
a
now, like
seed. Yeah.
yes, that's incredible. And I have a really special spiritual connection to my grandpa who passed when I was 7 years old. And so yeah, there's something like sensing into that, which is really special to still have these people living with us and
Yes.
informing some of the things that we're doing now. And
Yes.
so were you, speaking of singing, like was that part of what you always did like as a singer, or did this come from just
No.
starting the spiritual and being like, wow, I actually like love singing mantras, and it, I'm yeah, I
I,
just, it's fascinating to me because I love singing too, and I don't, it's
mhm.
not necessarily, yeah, I don't do singing mantras necessarily. Maybe it's a thing to come, who knows, but yeah, I'd love to
Mm.
hear just where the singing piece comes in.
So yeah, music was like a bit like a forbidden thing at home because my father, who left, uh, yeah, when I was like 6 months old, and I actually never met him again until I was like 20 years old.
Mhm.
So my stepfather, which I called my father, he already passed also, but it was like I had this inclination to music, but because my biological father was a musician, it was like, no. Like, I felt there was a little bit of a taboo around music interest, like, it was almost like a bad word. And I loved singing, but I sang like any other teenager, like Madonna. And at my, I'm giving away my age. It was the 80s. So, Cyndi Lauper, things like that, and all kinds of music. I loved singing. And, but no, the practice chanting mantras came in a very spontaneous way, but just only 7 years ago, can you believe? So it was in 2017, and I started the practice in 2001. So it was 16 years later that I started chanting mantras.
Wow.
Yeah,
And so when are you like, whoa, this is taking off on its own, right? I'm imagining it sounds like following that, it's like took a life of its own and now, now you're,
yeah,
filling
it
out
did.
halls and whatnot. So like what starts unfolding and then when do you leave? I mean, it sounds like you're still doing screenwriting. Like
Yeah,
like a was there a jump into, okay, I'm gonna follow this thread into this and see where it
no,
goes?
absolutely not. So there was not a conscious decision.
Yeah.
I was, yes, indeed, working as a casting director for many years, 10 years. Then I started working as a writer finally. And at the time I started chanting, when the click happened, I was working for a TV series and I was very unhappy with that. But I had a solid practice like every single day. Mantras were part of my practice. And I already loved Krishna Das and uh, Snatam Kaur, I don't know how you say in English, Deva Prema. So I listened to devotional music and I loved it. But I never thought, like, oh, now I'm going to. No, not at all. What happened is one day I was sitting and I had this experience of literally, it sounds a bit crazy, but I just felt, and it might sound a little bit cuckoo, but I heard kind of like, we want for you to sing to us. Like, this is your offering. And I'm like, what? And I see the harmonium, and most probably, I saw, you know, a concert of Snatam Kaur, and something came as a vision.
Hmm.
And it was very beautiful because at that time I was already interested in Indian teachings. So I was very closed into Tibetan Buddhism in a way in the beginning. And then at that time I started opening in searching, and I met Muji, who is my guru now. And I met also the Oneness University in India. And I started exploring, just allowing myself, because the practice is not Buddhism, but we can become pretty rigid in the practice. And I felt that I was in that kind of like rigid place with my practice. And, I started going to some meetings with these people from Oneness University in Argentina and experiencing things and having like really amazing mystical experiences. And in that moment, I had this kind of message. And the first mantra, Kalki mantra, which is on Insight Timer, was the first mantra. So it literally happened that I asked a friend to bring a harmonium. He understood that it was a harmonic, a little piece of instrument. How do you say?
Harmonica.
Yeah, he said, "Oh yeah, of course,
That's
I'll
great.
bring it." And so I bought it. He was in New York. Everything just was so beautiful because it's Sure, no problem. When he went to pick up the instrument, he was like cursing, how do you think I'm going to enter Argentina with this
Oh
piece,
my
And it
gosh.
was like everything went super well, and then everybody's like, how are you going to play it? And so I just teach myself with tutorials on YouTube. But what was really magical is that the mantra was like Om Shri Kalki Sarveshvaraya Namaha Om Shri Kalki in this way. And it came like a melody. And I grabbed the iPhone and I sang Om Shri Kalki Sarveshvaraya because it came like a melody. And
Yeah.
I sent it to a friend and I'm like, can you help me? And he's like, yeah, it's a beautiful melody. And so a friend musician who is my producer up to this day and my close collaborator, uh, I say that he's the one that translated everything. And the music started coming, and I just couldn't help but chanting. And at one point, I said, you know what? I'm just doing this. And everybody's like, you're crazy. And I quit screenwriting and I had a terrible time afterwards financially. But it's just, I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. I just wanted to chant, share, and at the same time, Maddie found me inside Timer. So it's like it was everything but a conscious decision. It was,
Yes. Yeah. But you mean you did have to take those steps. And I just want to highlight a few things in your story. One that, I'm assuming maybe you did go through this, like the potential imposter syndrome that could come up from I'm not a singer or I'm not a musician, right? I don't know how to do this. And maybe that wasn't your experience, but for some people I can imagine like they might feel like this next calling and well, it's not like you have this a big background in necessarily music, but that you can find this at the right time and you don't have to have started when you were 6, but you kind of just followed and really trusted and maybe we're getting the
mm,
feedback and of course to have like the experience that you had and feeling that come through is so important. I can sense into a similar experience for me with a different flavor of it. And what I love too is you in some ways become or became or are a vehicle for these mantras, which if I think of in shamanism, they have like Icaros that are,
yes,
chanting like the
yes,
medicine
absolutely.
songs, right? And I think,
Yeah, I recorded Abrete Corazon from Rosa
ah,
Giove.
oh,
She channeled
beautiful.
that. Yeah, yeah, I know
Yeah.
what you mean. Yeah.
And it's like, these mantras are in some ways medicine songs too, right? Like the
Mm.
energy of the mantra
Mm-hmm.
is carrying,
Mm-hmm.
it's carrying the deity. It's, I would love for you to talk about it, not me talk about it, but
Mm.
the way that you can carry it in a way that's going to maybe resonate on a more palpable level because when you hear the maybe traditional like what you said at the beginning that kind of robotic sound like that might not resonate for some people
Might
but
not be
like
appealing. Yeah. Mm.
exactly but for you but hearing it in that melodic
Mm.
way it's like you are getting that medicine you're getting that transmission out there to the world to the people that wouldn't be attracted to the more like robotic type of chanting. Does that make sense what I'm sharing?
Yes, absolutely. So, just trying to go back to the beginning of your question about imposter syndrome. The answer is no, I never had to deal with it because I think it's very linked to the fact that I wasn't um, trying to attain anything, trying to get anywhere, trying to. There was no effort, there was no intention, so there was no tension. And
I love
I
that.
made sure, actually, Moji says, I love it. When there is intention, there is a lot of tension. And
Oh,
I was very clear, and up until this day, my harmonium is all I developed this kindergarten system to put different colors so that I can find the chords. Until this day, I go and play to like with those colors. I don't know how to play otherwise. And if
right.
you give me another harmonium that doesn't have this notation of colors. I don't know what to do. And I think it's since the very beginning when you are very authentic, there is nothing to hide, nothing to prove. So there wasn't this heavy weight of, oh, I have to, I'm not a music, I never consider myself a musician, and I don't consider up until this day. And I never really did plan to make any kind of, um, like there was not an intention, like melodies were coming through literally in the harmonium, and I will take pictures of my fingers and record so that my producer could be then playing in the guitar and making a song of it. And that's how it's still up to this day. And I never wanted to improve or perfect this musician persona. It's not what it's about. Maybe I could to make my musicians friends lives easier, but I still don't know the keys and all of these. But so no imposter system syndrome. Um, Also, Krishna Das has a beautiful saying about music and mantras, and I love this one. He says that mantra is the medicine, like you just mentioned, and when you want to give a child a medicine, you have to hide it in honey or something sweet. And music is the medicine, is the honey. So we hide the medicine in these melodies, and oh, I like so much this one or that devotional singer. Yeah, the power is in the mantra. You might resonate because of your tendencies with one or with another musician or devotional singer, but actually the power. Always I try to make this clear, and now I go to the other point. I am not, I'm sharing, not even facilitating. Also what I've experienced and went through my system. So the first mantras were Green Tara, Medicine Buddha, mantras that I've received initiations, ritual authorizations, and practice for, Green Tara every single day. Like, so yes, of course, when it comes, I feel there is a power in that, as opposed as Googling a mantra and now I'm going to sing this mantra and
Yes,
there's
yeah,
nothing wrong about it, but
it's a
it's
different
because
charge.
I didn't feel a pressure because I felt it was all coming from a place that I didn't have a saying.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. You're making me realize like, wow, I try really hard. I have tried really hard, and there's been the unfolding and surrender and all that, and it's all been beautiful, and that's part of my dharma, I believe. But
But I'll be very happy to chant with you.
oh, that would be a gift. That would be a gift. But what you're saying, I've been more immersed in shamanic circles in the past few years,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and then my and what in a shamanic lineage you would do a dieta, and on the
See.
dieta you would
Mm-hmm.
be dieting a specific plant, and those plants often would have an icaro that you actually have
Mm.
to go you can't like, oh, this is the icaro for this plant. Yes, it's like looking up the icaro online. It's like, yeah, you can look at the words, but when you actually diet the plant, my friend made this connection. It's like knowing someone from what you see on TV and actually having a relationship with that person. Like that's actually my friend. And
Yes.
so when you
Yes.
sit with the plant,
Yes.
I've heard, and it blows my mind that icaro, the plant will actually be speaking it to you through it. So you
Mm.
actually can relate to the plant. So when you're in a ceremony, that Icaro would come through, and you have like, it's almost like you've been given that medicine to give through having dieted and done that work. So it sounds similar to like what you're saying of like these mantras actually have come through me, and now I'm
Mm.
taking them out into the world, and it has a different quality than, oh, I like this, like a song, and I'm going to sing this song. And again, like you said, there's nothing wrong with that, but I
No.
think that makes I think what you're doing, and what I'm assuming like that people like the Krishna Das having such a potent effect, and such a like
Mm.
a healing effect in many ways, right? What medicine does. I'd love to hear if specific mantras, like let's just do like, I'm a huge Ganesha came to me really early on in my journey
Mm-hmm.
in a very distinct, like, mystical vision. It was the wild, one of the wildest things. No psychedelics, none of that. It was just wild. So I've always felt really close to Ganesha in that way,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm curious how you, if you do, explain what each mantra is doing. Like is like the Ganesha mantra for X, or um uh,
Mm-hmm.
Gayatri mantra for this,
Mm-hmm.
or blanking on more mantras, but you get what I'm saying. Like, is
Yes,
it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm. So, just to clarify, I started sharing the mantras that I had more experience with, but then I expanded to mantras that maybe I just feel that it's not like you have to have a master on that mantra to share it, but it's super nice when it comes in this way, and it gave me the courage, I guess, to share. And then I explored other mantras that maybe wasn't part of my, like such a strong practice like these ones from Buddhism. And so Ganesha is one of those. Like, I feel a very strong connection with Ganesha, and I gave my mom, without having a clue about this elephant-headed deity, one statue when I was like 16, 17 years old. And I just felt this strong Ganesha connection, like yourself. It's interesting what you're asking me about. This question is taking me to maybe the next topic that we discuss, maybe to, about spiritual materialism. And it's very interesting because, yes, I do say for practical purposes, and I feel that that connects the person, the benefit that you may get, like Ganesha to remove obstacles, Green Tara for fear and anxiety, or Medicine Buddha for healing. I don't know, like Amitabha Buddha for the deceased ones. Yes, I like to give some context and what is it for, but then it can soon become like a tool, like,
Yes.
and of course it's a tool, mantra is a tool, and that's what it is, but then I need this for that, and then now I'm going to switch this for that, and it's one medicine.
Yeah.
It's chanting the names is the one name.
Right.
So we have to balance a little bit. Like, it's good that you asked this, because I always say, yeah, 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 of course, for self-love, aham prama, but just remember, okay, om mani padme, like the names, you're just
Yeah.
calling the one
Totally.
with
Totally.
different names.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I asked that question because
Yeah.
I've heard my one friend who mentioned, my friend Alistair, who's really steeped in his shamanic study, and he'll talk about how, like, the ego will take
Mm,
anything it can for its
mm,
own elevation, right? Like, it'll take
absolutely.
this experience and then elevate itself from it, and which is getting to the essence, I think, of what
Mm,
we're, what I'd love to discuss you with spiritual materialism, because it's a common, it's a topic that many people in spirituality actually don't have any idea. I mean, I think you can make an assumption about what it is based on the name, but I mean, there's a book, Chungyam Trungpa Rinpoche wrote a book, Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism. And so, yeah, I'd love to explore this conversation because I think it's important, especially on this podcast, because
mm,
we're literally like the materialistic world of business and money. We're kind of, there's the
yeah.
spirituality. So this is an important topic to talk about. So the question
Mm,
is, what is your,
interesting.
yeah, how do you approach, or how do you define spiritual materialism? And also, what are some issues you see in this world, or the world that like, how people engage with spirituality? And you kind of mentioned one already, like using it for something.
Yeah. I think maybe I would like to speak from my own experience, because, like, already, if I give a point of view, like how people, do things with spirituality, is going to be like not really nice.
Yeah.
But I speak from my own experience, right? And so I think spiritual materialism is some kind of like sense of, like practices and spiritual practices in the path can bring something to the ego, like you said, like enhance or perfect me, I, mine. and it's kind of like the ego wanting to have, like, it's in coach kind of experience, karmic experience in this lifetime, and somehow you can engage, or if you don't initially engage because of that, you can easily become like trapped into this perfectionism of myself. And now I'm more compassionate, and now I'm more patient, and look at me, I glow in the dark, like. So it's like this grandiosity and just this sense of comparing your experience with other ones. And I did this training, and I did for 24 years, and I received these initiations, and I went to this retreat, and then I went to that retreat, and just accumulating. I think it's related to when spirituality becomes any other kind of consuming things. Just when we project that we can obtain happiness with exterior things, external things. So it just somehow, in a very twisted and clever way, the ego, what we call the ego, the personality, the personhood, it manages to hijack the whole spiritual path and initial pure intention. Like, I always feel we come from a very genuine and pure place. And I always say, I think people that are not in the search or seekers are having a better time, because
Yeah,
once you engage, I see my partner, and it's more simple. Like, so, but
totally.
what I think, it's, and even they can be your teachers, and just with your, I think it's that precisely, your behavior, it's expressing your spirituality. Maybe you don't even practice anything, but it's not what
Totally.
you speak about all the time. I did this and I did that. And it's a sense of ownership, of having these views and experiences and attaining certain states in meditation. And that, I think, is when we are trapped in this place that, for me, it's so painful, actually, because it's like being in the middle of the river. Because I'd rather be in one side of the river, like totally, Netflix popcorn kind of vibe,
Yeah,
than, it can become very conflictive, to be trying to improve what actually cannot be improved,
yeah.
because we want to actually, dissolve into the heart, is not perfecting something that, yeah, it's hard to talk about these things, because I don't have any clue about how to get rid of my ego. But and I don't think I want to get rid of anything, but it's just like it doesn't get so much in the way, if that makes
Totally.
sense.
100%. Yeah, I think the way that you are speaking to this is spot on and really digestible too. And like it's so true that people that aren't into spirituality or seeking or doing any kind of self-development on themselves, like there's in the past, and I'm guilty of this too early on, there's a better than, oh, like I
Yeah,
found this, I'm more conscious of
it's
the
a sense of
reality.
superiority, no?
Totally,
Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
yeah,
And you don't even know, like you don't haven't done this, you haven't done work on yourselves. And that can, especially early on when you're not as, you don't have as many support people or teachers, or haven't just been
yeah.
humbled enough to realize how little we actually know. Um, it's yeah, these can be really simple trappings to get ourselves in. And there's
But
like
still, I feel, to
go ahead.
beat ourselves up because of these. Sorry for the
Yep.
interruption. It's
No,
part
no.
of the same game. It's a
Yes.
very sadistic game, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So be
That-
careful not to. Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's my fault. In the
Uh,
beginning, I also fell into the. Yeah, that's also the same one.
I know. The coaching, I've been in a multi-year training of um a style of coaching with a group called Alethea, and their whole
Mm,
basis is what if nothing is missing? And they're
mm,
kind of going against the
mm,
self-improvement paradigm that is
mm.
like that's what the issue with people that are seeking is. There's always another deficiency. There's always a not enough.
Exactly.
And I'm always needing to better this. And we get there and we're like, oh,
Mm,
no, this thing's not right. Or this, and we're just search for perfection, like you said, when and he has a very deep spiritual background. The teacher and coach, his name is
mm,
Steve March. And it's this instead this understanding that we are always whole, perfect, and complete, and we are unfolding, right? That wholeness is unfolding into more contact with that wholeness, and it's unfolding into itself. And it's, yeah, it's a really I think important thing to continue to speak about, like that, to
Mm.
improve. Literally, I'm proving, right? Like there's just like this trying to
Mhm.
get somewhere.
Again, a lot of intention. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. This
It's
is a mind blowing on intention. Intention. There's a lot of
yeah.
tension.
Also, Muji speaks about, like you were saying, in this personhood mode, in this personal mode of experiencing things. What if we are just old? And we are actually.
Yeah.
It's for me more than an unfolding. I would say it's like a recognition.
Yep.
Uh, it's like the veil falls and you see what it's actually there.
Mm,
Everything else is not true. So
yes.
um, he always speaks about something that for me is very graphic and visual, is that you can spend your whole life like trimming the leaves of the tree, but until you don't take it from the root, it just you trim it here, it looks wonderful, but then it's a problem there, and then it's another one, and then there is no end
Yeah.
to this.
Yeah. Yeah. So you also mentioned fairy tale spirituality. Is that different than spiritual materialism?
I love. I think it came up when about talking about this dream about also having a partner. That it's the rom com, the ultimate spiritual rom com. I'm a screenwriter, so sorry.
My the twin flame or something like that, to like, you have like this
Well,
perfect life in
well,
some
as
ways.
long as your twin flame does the same things you do, like because of course we want them to do, if we like burning sage, then it's sage, and so it's like having someone who is also in the path, and I tend to now, I'm 52. I experience that people in the path, it tends to be really complicated sometimes. Just I think I rather not. So the
That's
spiritual
hilarious.
fairy tale is a bit like, oh, my partner and I, like you see Deva Premal and Miten, and you just there is a poll about the Sitaram, no, the divine
Yes.
um,
Yep.
couple,
Yep.
in this relationship, very detached, and all love, unconditional love, no expectations, and I just um, yeah, and can also filter, like relationships that are very meaningful, like where's your curriculum, your spiritual. And I just yeah, I just feel that, you know spirituality ultimately is a kind heart,
Hmm.
and kindness, love, and compassion, you
Yeah.
know and that's it, that's pretty much about it.
Yeah.
Of course, wisdom, but um I feel also that I wanted to say a few things about how we consume things that are spiritual, that we buy. We always need another statue of Buddha, a new incense, the thing where you burn the sage. And I myself get caught into this because,
Sure.
of course, I'm not speaking. It's me, no, from my experience, and always like yeah, there's something else to do to attain, and it's a kind of postponement also, and it becomes an entertainment.
Yeah.
And when you have so much, like there is a library of 10,000, 20,000, 30, whatever thousand meditations. And I discussed this with my Insight Timer inner circle. We have these circles that I always try to guide them in a way to say, hey, be aware of this tendency, that we are just shopping for more. And now I want this mantra, and now I want this course, and now I start and I don't finish and I move to another one. And it's just like, it's this restlessness. And I feel that, okay, if you want to get somewhere, mantra is all about repetition. And I always recommend sticking to one at least for a week to have some kind of, like you said, to befriend that mantra, like that Ikaro, become friends so you can understand what it does to you. Because if it's not experienced, then it's just accumulating more, you know, knowledge or information, not even knowledge, and it gets so busy and crowded. I feel it can be the ultimate distraction.
Hmm. So that it brings up a really interesting point, and curious how you navigate, and maybe because it's not having to be your full-time living, it sounds like, how, I have this
Oh.
title of this podcast called The Art and Business of Meditation. And this is my own insecurity, but there might be some truth in it. I have a judgment that if, and I love Ram Dass, let's say Ram Dass were to hear about my podcast, that there'd be like, this is what's wrong in some ways, like the business of meditation, right? Like there would be some this, and I know that I'm open, like I can speak and
I,
understand where that judgment would be coming from, and I'm doing my best to trust that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and walk this weird line of business and spirituality.
mm,
And so I'd love to hear, yeah, like how you do how, okay, if you don't want people to consume, how are you sharing your offerings? Like, how are you, talking about building your business, if like how you think
mm.
about it from this place of, I don't want to continue spiritual materialism or consumerism. Yeah, I'd be curious how you navigate that.
Yeah, so two things are separate here, like two questions maybe, or one thing that I want to comment is on you on your podcast. So before we begin, we took this moment to sit and to be together in this intention. And purely, I was with goosebumps, I told you, because it was so much peace. And what I felt is this pure heart and intention. And I felt like, oh, this guy is all about bodhicitta. He's here showing for other beings. And it really touched my heart because I felt such generosity and yeah, just this kindness. And so I don't know about Ram Dass, but I can tell you
Making me tear up.
I can tell you that I feel that people listening to your podcast, and I told you I'm a fan already. I love it how you share things, and it resonates a lot with me. I'm totally going to advertise your podcast because I feel it's so necessary, and you do it with so much grace and wisdom and authenticity. You are so authentic, and yeah, by all means, let's speak about business. And so in my experience, I didn't start this to, the word business came very recently. Like, is this a business? Like, I never even acknowledged, like, is this my business? And I think it's because it was so gradual. And because I'm an astrologer, when I quit screenwriting, I started supporting myself and my daughter. I'm a single mom with my astrology work, and I love teaching astrology. And just so it was kept very pure until Inside Timer monetized it. So I wasn't making any money of it, and I
So
was
you would
even
just do
spending
astrology,
money
you were
on
doing
it.
astrology sessions just for free? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, no, no. I was no. So
So there was an
astrology, it was
exchange
like
in
my
those sessions.
business. No, no,
Got it.
no. If you want, like I was charging coaching with
Got it. Got it.
astrology,
Got it.
you know? So
Yep.
that was like I was working and making a living, like a very basic living with
Yep.
astrology because you make so much more money with screenwriting. But it's interesting because so I was doing astrology and I was even investing money in recording my first album. And up until this day, I'm just putting money on this business. So, because I have 3 albums now and they are expensive. So I never thought about it as a business. I was invited to join Inside Timer. I will speak a little bit about Inside Timer because that's how it started to look like a business. And so it was back in those days where Maddie sent you an email like Q, I guess. And I joined. Oh, yeah. And the first question was, is there any money involved? Because no, 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 no. It's just, oh, so I was so happy to share with the whole world. Yeah, it was for me an opportunity, a window to just impact more lives with this. And there was a component, it was so playful and innocent and so light. It was very beautiful. And I was responding to every single review. And Maddie sent me an email and she said something like, Paz, that you don't have to respond to every single comment. And I'm like, but I want to because I was just thrilled that people would even listen to these songs. And so I was doing my job, my side job as an astrologer, and just recording and chanting, and there was no money business thing involved. When they asked me to do the first course, that's when I think it became like, oh, there is money involved. And again, years passed and I didn't really rely on that income whatsoever, but it built up somehow. So when I hear like, how can you make it on Insight Timer? How can you achieve like 3K, 4K, like
I
things like
know.
that? I don't even have a clue because it just, everything unfolded. But
Yeah.
then there was a moment during the pandemic where I moved to the Netherlands. I wasn't working as an astrologer and I started focusing more on, yeah, this is a source of income, definitely. And I don't think there is anything wrong with it because it's an exchange of my time and my energy. And I started doing courses. And it's not like there is a problem with charging for these things. It's more than I was contemplating the other day. Very soon you can become the same one that left the business of entertainment and screenwriting. If you bring the same mindset, so you can change whatever work you think is the highest work, but if you steal that one, it's going to show up again, and you have to deal with that again. And there is
Yes.
like greed, whatever you discuss so beautifully, the greed, the how do I grow? You compare yourself to other teachers, and all of these things will come up, and it's beautiful because it's your practice also. That's the life is your practice, and
Yes.
I don't have a conflict with that. If you ask me where I'm now, I I'm at a turning point, really, where I don't want this to be my business, and I am coming back to screenwriting because I'd rather be a lawyer or I don't know, something else than to have to complicate myself with, making a business of. So for me it sounds like it's my what gives me peace now. So I decided, okay, I'm going to focus on building my business around astrology, and this is breaking news. um,
Yay.
and I just want to offer this music, and hopefully this business will allow me to sustain the other thing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
Beautiful.
that's where I am right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. And what you shared is, and I keep walking this line because I see I'm in these Insight Timer groups and they're like, you've probably seen it too. Like, how do I make this much?
Yeah.
And it's all about let's share your revenue goal for like, I need to make this much. And so people
Mm,
message me of like, hey, I need to make my living on Insight Timer this year. What should I do? I was
mm,
like,
mm, mm.
you probably shouldn't do that. That's like, well, why'd you
No,
put this much
no.
pressure on yourself? It's like it wasn't everyone I know, and I know some people that are making a good amount of money. I have a friend who's actually um, making in the five-figure range a month currently from Insight Timer.
Wow.
And all of these people never once said, how do I make the most money on Insight Timer that I can? And so, and that's why I have a video because I like to be transparent with, I think it's important. Like I
Yeah.
like the transparency of hearing about
Yeah.
how, well, what are you making? And so I have a video on YouTube and I might share it on the podcast, I think, but I shared this of like, hey, this is what I'm making. This is possible. And everyone that I know, myself included, started on this app from this space of wow, what an opportunity. I'm just here to give. And what now making money? Great. Like, wow. And it just only grew
Of
from there.
course.
And the people
Yeah.
that are, I feel like stay in that authentic intention, that generous intention, have done the best. And so it's like,
Yeah.
yes, I get this, like, okay, I'm really wanting to have a goal and figure that out. So it's this interesting, it's really yeah, it's a fascinating thing to line, but I love hearing your story as another example of your just
Yeah.
sharing. You're just sharing, and
I
like it's been a
I
gift.
don't judge anyone because, but I just, from my own experience, I am like, why would I bring this so much pressure and stress and strategy and all of the dynamics that I quit when I quit what I was doing because I wanted to do something different, and I'm just replicating the same ways.
Yes,
Do you see what I mean?
I
So
hear.
like when
Yeah.
I catch myself like responding a comment because I know that that comment pays on Insight Timer, that's when that stings to me, you know.
Yeah.
That's
Good
like, oh
call. Good call. Does this
no,
feel
I don't
genuine
want
or?
this, you know. Oh no, I don't want to go
Yes.
this road. And like you said the other day, you were talking about engagement and on the last podcast,
Yep.
and you said something, and because you're happy to, I can see this enthusiasm in you and generosity. I feel the same enthusiasm around my students and what they have to say and share, and that's why I said I was responding even when there was nothing, for me there other than connection, which I think is the deepest thing. And it's like we are actually giving our time. And when you record, I love also sending voice messages, sometimes up to 5 minutes. I don't know if they listen to it, but it is our. So I had to learn also to find balance and to say, this is my time, it's my energy. And for me, it was learning the other way around. Like now I want to learn more about how to make my business. Like I never had that mind frame, I guess. And there is no like contradiction. I think I was very judgmental before about making money with spiritual things and just really harsh with myself. I don't think ambition is contradictory to, because it's your mission. Your ambition is your mission, basically.
Yeah.
And in a way it's like you want to grow and expand, and as a result, natural result of that, abundance will flow. I think it's what you were saying before. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's the two words that I've been playing with is the difference between an offering and an offer. And when I think of
Mm,
an offering, I think of something that's almost it's like a devotion. Like this is my offering. I'm giving it, I'm releasing it to the world, and there's this unattachment to it. There's like this feels like by I would start like tearing up. It feels like by giving this, right? By even like giving this podcast, and it's only just starting to like get some momentum. I've been doing this for like a year and a half, but it's like
mm,
this just feels like a gift, and this is an offering, and I'm not really attached to
yes,
where this goes.
absolutely.
And there's such an energy in an offering. Like you'd go to a temple, right? You'd give an offering to something. An offer, nothing wrong with having offers, but with an offer, there's a waiting for a response. Hey, my
Mm,
astrology reading costs this much. What do you think?
mm-hmm,
Right? This is my
mm-hmm,
offer. And so there's like a different
mm-hmm.
thing. You can't do that with everything, right? You can't just offer, you can't always have the response. And so I see Insight Timer in that like these are offerings, and what a blessing that I'm making money, but I'm really trying not to like people that are trying to make it their business. I'm like that no, it can help your business for sure. It can be a leg of it for sure.
Yes, yes,
But like
that's
I
how I
guess
see it.
it's the energy of coming at it as an offering versus an offer. Something that I've been like
Absolutely.
thinking and
Yes,
sitting with.
absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And I had to work on um, how what number to put to that offer as an astrologer now. And I had to raise my numbers, and
Yeah.
because of, I think life threw me on a washing machine. Like my life is like so hectic right now that I was pushed to own this business entrepreneur thing because yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's it's something that I'm also need to give to others like my family. But for me it's something I'm healing my relationship with money, you can say, which is a cliche, but it's true because I'm like, what is wrong with you? It's not, it's your time, you're sharing
Why
something,
can
but
Brad Pitt get paid millions of dollars to go on that movie, but you can't get paid this much to, change, to help someone's, life,
mm,
right?
I feel coaching, like astrology,
Yeah.
is my work right now, would be, and screenwriting, that I'm continue to write and get uh, a salary for that. And my goal or my aim is that the music is an offering.
I love it.
And
Yeah.
having said that, if inside timer and I make a very good income monthly, yeah, but it has a different smell, a different taste. How you open the computer, how you go to the dashboard, and how you approach the whole thing.
Yeah. Totally agree.
So
Totally agree.
yeah,
Um, I'd love to ask you one more question if you have time. There's
yeah.
like one other thing I wanted to say to that, but it blanked on me. So I'm always fascinated by finding your guru experiences. Like you talked
Hmm.
about experiencing, finding Muji and that experience
Yeah.
of like feeling like you came home. And I just love to just hear you speak to that because it's like something I like, not envy is a strong word, but I look to people, that talk about that experience. And there's like the part of me that's, I want to find that. Like, I want to just surrender into like, this is the energy I can surrender into and feel that, what I can imagine that feels like. And so, yeah, when I hear that story, I'm just so fascinated. Selena Leal, you might know Selena on Inside Timer too. She was on this
No.
podcast and I forget
Yeah.
her guru's name, but she explained a bit about that experience for her or something Sai Ma, I think Sai Ma. But I'd love to hear that experience with Muji
Ah,
if you're
okay.
willing to share.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah. So I think guru is different than teachers. I had many teachers in my life that I'm so grateful for all of them. But still, in Buddhism, though I had amazing teachers and rinpoches and enlightened ones, like considered within the Buddhism, I never had this. I never felt this ultimate unconditional love, completely surrender, completely dissolving. Like it's just an explode. I think it's like when you fall in love, when you just know, and then you know it's not true, and that you were wrong. But I think it's like it's something very intuitive. It's something that the mind also don't have a saying. And I remember my sister sent me a video. At that time, I was struggling with probably some bad relationship in a bad romance. and and she sent me a video, very practical. I think it was like, oh, you don't need to be loved, or there's no need to be loved, or something like that. And it was like, wow. For me, it was like, wow. And I started just watching YouTubes. And I was in Argentina, of course. He has his retreat center in Portugal. So for me, it was at the beginning a lot of YouTube, and then I signed up for some retreats online. And I just couldn't help it but go to that direction. And that's also what brought me to the Netherlands, because um, no, first I met him in a retreat in Portugal, and then I came to the Netherlands for another retreat. And that's a different story for a different podcast. But yeah, with Muji is like, yeah, I've been with him walking or considering myself his student since 2017. And I would say also to be mindful to whatever whoever is listening to this, to that tendency of something is lacking because I don't have my guru.
Hmm.
Again, going back to the spiritual materialism, oh,
Yeah.
she has the guru, I don't. Oh, bummer, I'm
Haha.
one step
Dang
behind.
it. Got me again. Can't escape
Oh,
this.
so no, don't fall into that, because as Krishna Das also says, it's so beautiful. Life is your guru. Like ultimately, life is your guru. And I can tell you, Lou, for me, the last year, has been extreme. Like my father passed at home when he was visiting me from Argentina. I woke up at 5 a.m. and I found him dead, sitting in the living room.
Wow.
That was my guru, like manifesting through this experience, like boom, the night before watching the Champion Leagues, yay, and just fun and everything was fine. And then the next day, impermanence, gone. Like, and things like that, very extreme. Like 2 months after my partner was diagnosed with cancer, advanced stage, and I'm like, okay, and that's my guru again, saying, you know what, you need to take your money more seriously, because so
Mm,
life is teaching me so much, and all of these beautiful beings around me, of course Muji is my guru in the form. And the different difference between teacher and guru is, like, guru is the one you totally commit and surrender, and not in a submissive way because I'm such a rebel,
mm,
but in a way that you say, yeah, I arrived, I don't need to keep looking for the next teaching, for the next retreat, for the next mantra, for the
mm,
next philosophy. This is it. And basically what he's saying these days is like more and more simple, and it's becoming like, just bear your own silence, just
mm.
sit and bear your own silence and be with yourself, and just, and the teachings also are becoming so simple and so strong, powerful. So again, if someone doesn't have their guru, like maybe they will find in the physical form, maybe their guru is someone who passed already and you have such a strong connection, like Ram Das or Ananda Maima, or anyone that it's gone, like Ramana, or I don't know, so many, no?
Yeah.
Um, and you can have such a powerful connection. I guess it's the one that there's a story about Muji also. Someone approached him and said, yeah, because I had this guru and I had that guru, and so I have 5 gurus. And he said, like, wow, how did you survive? You're not supposed to survive even one.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, and it's amazing because I'm off to Portugal on in just 3 days for a retreat, a time with him, and it's such a blessing.
It's so beautiful. To give you more acknowledgement and veneration, right? You are a real one. So thank you so much for being you in the world, and it's been a absolute pleasure. Oh, do you for your business send people to where you want them to go, or
To my business. So
let's
yeah,
support that.
please. Yeah, so I didn't launch it yet. It's going to be in Spanish because that's part of the refining of what I how I want to move from now on. And I just feel also that I need to express in Spanish, but also I will continue because my clients, English speakers, they're like, what? But I work one on one, and if they want to work with me, they can go to Instagram, Prashanti Paz, and they will find the link tree. And yeah, you can see I'm not a business person. There is a Calendly where they can book, hopefully, a session if they feel inspired. I call what I do spiritual astrology, and that the approach is really self-inquire, self-knowledge, like getting to know yourself from a different, with a different tool. Yeah,
Mm,
but it's not predictive at all, or these things. I just say it to filter any expectations that are
of
not aligned
course.
to what I do.
Of course.
Mm.
Yeah, well go follow Prashanti and go deep dig dig deeper into her work. Go listen to her. I've been listening to her mantras a lot the past few days. So please go. They're so beautiful. And
Yeah,
thank you so much.
thank you.
What a blessing.
Wow.
All right, friends. Take care. I'll see you soon.